All right, a little simple problem, but just to kind of throw a little bit wrench into things, because I know we're so common in looking into the first term and last term, determine if they're square numbers. And if you look at what we have written right now, you can see that 20 is not a square number, right? You cannot multiply the same number by itself to get 20x. However, the problem is we do not have this in descending order. So when we're applying our factoring techniques, especially the perfect square, trinomials, we want to make sure it's in descending order, so therefore we can verify that our first term and our last term are perfect square numbers, which in this case we do have an x squared, and here we have 100. Those are both square numbers. So therefore, to solve, I'm going to set this equal to 0, and I'm going to write my two factors. Now remember, when we write our two factors for a perfect square trinomial, we know those two factors are going to be exactly the same. So we look at, when I was going to apply FOIL, I was going to multiply these two terms. What do these two terms that have to be exactly the same, they're going to multiply to give me x squared? Well, that's x times x. I look at my middle term. Since my middle term is positive, I know both my two factors are going to be positive. Then I look at the last term and say, all right, if I was going to multiply these two, what two numbers that are exactly the same multiply to give me 100? Well, that's going to be 10 and 10. Now, the last thing we need to make sure is if we were to multiply our middle terms, the middle term has to be double of what the square root of our last term is. And if we had a first term, we could do that as well. So what we see is that 10 times 2 is going to be 20 x. So that works as well. So now I can rewrite this. I'll just actually use the zero product property. So I have x plus 10 times x plus 10 equals 0. So I can write x plus 10 equals 0 and 0 equals x plus 10. Then use my inverse operations. So negative 10 equals x. And negative 10 equals x. Now, you don't need to write negative 10 twice as your solution. That will be a part of our multiplicity that we'll talk about. However, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that that is going to be that is going to be your solution to to this perfect square trinomial. Thanks.